On today's video, I am dry aging every single meat I can find. Most importantly, we're going to be rating every single one of them, because if it's worth it, you should try that at home. So enough talking, let's begin. And we're going to start off with a bang, a huge octopus. But the problem with octopus is that if you don't cook it right, it can become really chewy and not very good. So my hope is that dry aging it will tenderize this thing, and most importantly, it's going to be great. So after putting it on a hook, I added a chopstick in the middle to keep the tentacles open, and into the dry ager it went for a month. Once the time was up, take a look. I was not expecting this. This thing is a sculpture. I think octopus is made 100% out of water, because as you can clearly see, there's almost nothing left, and you should be really happy that you can smell it. But since octopus doesn't have a lot of flavor, hopefully the dry aging process made it better. And since this thing is as hard as a rock, I went ahead and used some kitchen scissors. Take a closer look. It is not only translucent, but it is hard, almost like an unbreakable paper. The same is to be said about the tentacle. Just believe me when I tell you, this one, you don't want to smell it. But hopefully it's gonna taste fantastic. So I went ahead in a pan, added some oil, onion, garlic, and immediately threw it in. Since it was quite dry, I went ahead and added some white wine followed by smoked paprika. Mixed that up real good, and everything started getting rehydrated once again. The only thing left to do was to go ahead and plate it up, add a tiny bit of parsley, and find out the perfect person to give this a go. Because believe me when I tell you, my crew have tasted incredible things, some better than the others, but today it's gonna be different. So here we go.
Well, this looks like dog food. That's definitely a tentacle. Cheers. It honestly doesn't taste bad. I just can't chew. It's not fishy at all for me. It just tastes like chili oil.
Based on the smell, I did not expect that. But let's move to something more familiar. Hot dogs. There's not much to be said, because everyone knows what a hot dog tastes like. To dry age it, it's quite simple. After putting it on a cooling rack, into the dry ager it goes for a month. And once the time was up, take a look. This is what a dry-aged hot dog looks like. If I'm being completely honest, it reminds me of salami. It is still flexible, and when I hold it on my hand, it's almost like Slim Jim. But the most important thing is to see if this is gonna taste good or not. So I went ahead and boiled them. This got them rehydrated, added them to a bun, followed by some ketchup and mustard, and there we have it. Will the world's first dry-aged hot dog be good? Let's find out.
Looks like we got your old-fashioned hot dog. Let's give it a try. Texture is a little bit weird, but if you can get past that, everything else is good. I'm gonna eat the whole thing.
Once again, unexpected results. Now that is what I'm talking about. However, I'm not quite sure about this next one. Chicken wings. Now you already know that chicken wings can be delicious, but dry aged? I have no idea. This is what it looks like before going in, and after putting it on a cooling rack, I dry aged it for a month. Now take a look. You tell me, it doesn't even look like chicken wings anymore. If I'm being completely honest, it also does not smell that great. When you take a closer look in the back, this thing is as hard as it gets, and it looks like there's no more moisture left. But the important thing, how is it gonna taste? So I went ahead and chopped them up and immediately deep fried them at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The crispiness of the skin was on a whole nother level. To finish them off, I added some chicken wings hot sauce, tossed it up, plated the whole thing with a little bit of vegetables on top, and there we have it. The world's first dry-aged chicken wings. Since this one smelled really bad, I didn't want to give it to my crew, so I went ahead and took a bite, and it was horrible. Dry, it smelled spoiled, just not good. This one will get a 0 out of 10. So that got me thinking, how about this? Turkey breast. It has a lot more moisture, but what will happen when we dry age it? Well, we're about to find out right now, because it went in for a whole month. And this is what it looks like when it came off. Luckily, it didn't smell that bad. I really think that the bones does something when you're dry aging meat. That's why this one is not that bad. However, when I went to slice it, it is hard. But you can clearly see that there's still some moisture in the middle. That would be only on the thick part of the breast, because the tip is hard as a rock. So I have to discard it, because take a look. The thicker parts don't look that bad. So I went ahead and fried the whole thing up with a tiny bit of salt and pepper. I immediately plated it up, and it was time to give it a try.
I guess let's try this thing. Cheers. Whoo! That is not people food. The sad thing is the flavor actually isn't that bad, but the texture is so horrible that it makes the whole thing just feel so wrong and nasty.
Let's forget about poultry for a while. Because the next thing I wanted to dry age is this, squid. I'm pretty sure you had calamari before. That's what this is made out of. However, what will happen when we dry age this? Well, let's find out. Into the dry ager it goes for a month. Once the time was up, check it out. The world's first dry aged squid. Oh boy. It's hard, it's not pliable whatsoever, but most importantly, it does not smell bad. So to cook it, I wanted to rehydrate it a little bit. So I started by frying it up, added some vegetables to make it taste good, stirred it a little bit more, because in the end, I played it up and it was time for the taste test. In all honesty, I have no idea what to expect, but we're about to find out right now.
What the hell is this?
You guys are like feeding me used condoms. Makes me a little uncomfortable to eat it. Bro, what the? I feel like I'm chewing plastic. That's gonna be a hard pass for me. I'm sure Angel will love these veggies later.
Don't worry, David. Angel will definitely have those veggies later on. Because the next one, check it out. We got beef salami. If you've never had this, it's quite delicious, especially on sandwiches. Into the dry ager it goes for 1 month. Take a look at it once the time was done. Now that is a dry sausage. There's not much to do or describe because it doesn't smell like almost anything. So I went ahead and sliced the whole thing up, and I don't know if you ever fried yours. It enhances the flavor and it's really tasted this way. But dry aged, I have no idea.
That looks like a beef sausage. Let's try. To be honest, this is no bad. I like the texture. It's like crispy on the outside because in the middle it's really soft. It's really good. I like salami.
As expected, beef salami is awesome dry aged. But check out the next one. Now if you're not familiar with this, they are soft shell crabs. It is usually very delicious. And the funny thing about it is that you can eat the whole thing because everything is nice and soft. And when you fry it up, it's delicious. So I went ahead and set it down on a cooling rack, and into the dry ager it goes for a whole month. Once the time was up, the biggest issue for me is that it got stuck on the cooling rack. But after a little bit of work, I was able to take it off. Now here you can clearly see what's going on. This thing is bone dry. Very dry. Once I split it open from the belly, you can see the amount of meat it has, which at this point looked quite promising. So I went ahead and did a quick batter, dunked it right in, and immediately deep fried the whole thing. To finish it off, I added some chili oil, followed by some green onions. Now I gotta be honest with you, it just smells delicious. But it's the world's first dry-aged soft-shell crab. I was a little bit skeptical, so instead of giving it to the guys, I went ahead and tried it myself. And oh boy, this one, I can tell you right away, it's a no-go. But the next one I was super excited to see, and that would be St. Louis pork ribs. These are delicious whenever you make it barbecue style. But dry aged? Well, there's not much to do. You just gotta leave it hanging for a whole month. Once the time was up, check it out. Super dry, zero smell, and most importantly, it looks like this one worked well. But because it was extremely dry, this got me a little bit worried. I think all of the moisture is completely gone. But nevertheless, I went ahead and seasoned it with barbecue rub, stuck it on the grill, and let it cook. To finish it off, I added some barbecue sauce right on top, sliced it up, and it was now time for the taste test.
Django ribs, yes sir. I don't want it anymore. Google, why'd you do this? The flavor is all right. The texture is terrible. It's not fall off the bone. If anything, it's in love with the bone. We talk about tree huggers, but this is a bone hugger. I'm not putting that in my mouth again. Neither should you.
Dry aging St. Louis ribs is definitely a no-go. But what about this next one? Scallops. Now this thing is delicious by itself, especially if you cook it in butter. However, how will it taste dry age? I'm not quite sure, but I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. So after closing my dry ager, you went in for a whole month. Once the time was up, check it out. As expected, it got stuck to the cooling rack. Once I took it out, it almost looks like chicken. Luckily enough, there's still quite a bit of moisture on it. But the biggest issue on this one here was the smell. It was horrible, but I decided to go ahead and fry it up anyway. Then I added a generous amount of wine, followed by butter so that I can rehydrate the whole thing. Then I added some garlic, salt, and pepper, cooked it for a little bit longer, and in the end I plated it up really nicely. I even added a generous amount of that butter on top, followed by a tiny bit of parsley. In the end, it looked okay, but as soon as I went to take a bite, it was horrible. I'm not even willing to give this one to my guys to try. Definitely do not try this one at home. Next up, I wanted to go big, so I'm about to try every single one of these. First up, the most popular one of them all, Spam. Now I love Spam, Especially in musubi, it is just phenomenal. But how will it be dry aged? It's pretty simple. After a month, this is what it looks like. Not that much difference, just slightly drier. It still smells great, so it's time to cook it up. I went ahead and pan fried the whole thing. The biggest difference for me is that you gotta be careful. Since it's much drier, it gets a crispy crust right away. But how does it taste?
What? I guess let's give it a go. Cheers. Tastes like Spam. Not that bad, honestly. It looks like petrified wood, but it's not that bad.
I'll definitely take not that bad. Next up, tuna. Tuna from a can. This one is pretty straightforward. I first drained the liquid, set it down on a plate, made a tight ball so everything can dry age nicely, and now that this is ready, I let it go for a whole month. And check it out. It became a rock. This thing is as dry as the Sahara Desert. There is zero moisture. And if you ever had tuna before, you know how dry it can get. But it was time for payback to my nephew.
Man, what the heck? I came prepared. Oh, Guga, don't do that again, bro. Oh, what the heck is this, dude? Oh, I can still taste it. Nah, I'm out of here.
That's what you get for not eating all of your vegetables. But how about this next one? Cooked ham. Will it behave the same exact way as the Spam? And if you've never had this, it's not the best ham you can have, but I'm wondering if dry aging is going to make it better. Check it out once it was done. I only went for 2 weeks on this one. I wanted to still have some moisture inside, so I went ahead and sliced that whole thing up, cooked that up on the pan, and as you can clearly see, I got much better results than the Spam. It didn't burn. That's because there was still a little bit of moisture inside. But the true test is the taste test.
And it smells pretty good. Let's just give it a try, I guess. Cheers. It's actually pretty good. It's not dry, it's not wet. Kind of just like falls apart, almost like jerky. I give this a thumbs up.
I guess dry aging for a little bit less is better. But how about this? Vienna sausage. Very popular with children. It brings back a lot of memories. So I went ahead and wanted to dry age it to see what happens. And take a look at it after a month. Oh boy. It looks like it became Slim Jim. Since Vienna sausage was fully cooked already, there's no need to do anything else but try.
Is this like dog food? It tastes like dog food, man. Piece by piece, you chew it and it's just, it feels like rubber. It's like I'm eating a rubber band or something here. Not good.
I have to agree, not very tasty. But next up, check it out. Corned beef. Very popular with a lot of people. The problem with corned beef is this. You either like it or you hate it, but dry aged. Well, check it out after a month. Ooh boy, this one smelled kind of funny, but it seemed that it was still edible. So I went ahead and sliced up the whole thing, fried it up on a pan, and check it out what I was left with. Maybe not the best looking meat, but here's what it tasted like.
I have to try this. Are you sure? Okay. Oh, this is disgusting. No. Nah.
Definitely don't dry age corned beef. Next up, we got sardines. Honestly, you either love it or hate it, and I love it, especially if you grow up eating like I did. The smell always kicks you in the face. Now this is freshly out of the can. After a month in the dry ager, check it out. Super dry, kind of flaky, there's almost no moisture. Does it taste good?
Oh. Cheers. Oh my god, it's so dry and fishy. I like sardines, but I do not like that.
Dry-aged sardine is a no-go. But what about chicken on a can? To be specific, chicken breast on a can. A lot of people use this to make chicken sandwiches. This is what it looks like fresh. And here's what it looks like after dry-aged for a month. Dry, no moisture, it smells like stinky feet. But maybe it's like a fine wine. Hopefully it tastes a lot better than it looks.
Let's give it a try, I guess. This is disgusting. It's like rubbery and still falls apart at the same time. I don't know how that's possible.
It looks like canned chicken breast dry age is a no-go. But how about a TV dinner? To be specific, Salisbury steak. This is what it looks like fresh. Check it out what happens after a month. It looks like a fossil, so this one definitely had to be cooked. And in the end, check it out. What does this remind you of? I would love to know in the comments down below, because the only thing left to do is to try it.
Smells okay.
That is not good.
Yeah, that's not for me.
Salisbury steak dry age is definitely a no-go. But what about this next one? Uncooked cured salt pork. Usually this tastes fantastic, especially on pasta. But here's what it looks like fresh, and here's what it looks like after 30 days. There's not much differences to it, and that's because of the fat. Remember, fat is a great preservative. So I went ahead and cooked up the whole thing, sliced it up, and it was time to give it a taste test.
Looks like pork belly, but I'm sure there's something wrong with this.
This one is definitely a no-go. But what about meatballs already ready? Come on now, they have to be phenomenal, right? Here's what it looks like straight from the bag, and now dry aged for a month. There's a huge difference. To keep this one nice and simple, I went ahead and threw it in the air fryer. Once it was fully cooked, check it out. It almost looks like falafel, but the smell was kind of funky.
Meatballs. I like me albondigas. Good.
But those are the results. Can you believe it? Which one was your favorite and which one would you eat? I would love to know. Put it in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that thumbs up and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.